Welcome to this How Do I video on simplified UX basic concepts in Microsoft Dynamics NAV 2015. At the end of this video, you will have gotten an overview of the simplifications that are part of simplified UX. Simplified UX is a package of objects and especially pages that have been simplified for the smaller business users. Simplified UX is a package of objects and especially pages for the smaller business users that have been simplified to make their task and data retrieval easier. This video will take you through 4 different scenarios that showcase most of the elements of simplifications that have been added to simplified UX. The first is the role center. We will then show how to set prices and discounts for an item, creating sales invoices for a new customer, and also to correct a posted sales invoices. These are all 4 things that happen often in a smaller business. The first scenario is the simplified role center for smaller businesses. We will start at taking a look at the small business role center. The small business role center is created for a small business owner or a small business bookkeeper who both need access to most of the information about the business and also most of the task in an easy way. The role center has access to purchase and sales document. It has some KPIs. It has a chart that shows various KPIs also. It has a reduced trial balance, and it has grouped all the tasks that you perform in a smaller business under the activity buttons. If you are using the web client, this is what you will see. It will play a welcome video first, and you can choose to watch it, or you can choose to play it later if you want. It also has a setup video that will play a video with some information on how to set up the system. Once you've done that a couple of times and you're familiar with the content, you can choose to show and hide the first section, the getting started section. And we say refresh the page. We hit F5 to refresh it, and that section is now gone from the role center. If you want it back, you click the show hide getting started again, and it will display again, and you can choose to play the videos. The small business role center gives an easy access to most of the setup. All the setup information for a smaller business is collected in one place so that you have easy access. On the right, we have a trial balance in reduced form. If we click one of the numbers, the operating expenses, for example, we drill down to the chart of accounts, so we see the totals. From there, we can drill down into the actual ledger entries and check the numbers if we want to. If you choose to click on one of the calculated fields like operating margin percentage, it will drill down into the underlying account schedules, and from there you can drill further into the numbers. In the upper right corner, we have the key performance indicators chart, which is really a selection of charts that you can run through by using the previous next chart. And you can see we can run through the different charts that comprise the key performance indicators. So it's an easy way of getting access to a lot of data in relatively short time. In most of the charts, you are able to change the period length to get more insight or a more condensed view. The last element is grouping of other tasks like bookkeeping tasks under these activity buttons. You will have a new separate navigation pane that gives you access to most of the document, journals, budgets, fixed assets, all the things that you would need when you're doing bookkeeping. For analysis, you have access to cash flow, account schedules, and so forth. And bank, you obviously have access to banks, reconciliations, and payment journals and currencies. This was a quick tour of the most essential elements of the small business role center. The second scenario is setting sales prices and discounts for an item. In this scenario, we will set up prices and discounts for an item. We will also adjust the stock level, and we'll look at the setup for the item. We start by picking an item. 1001 and say edit. As you can see, if we expand the sales prices and line discounts fast tabs, and we'll expand the window a bit. In this case, we want to set a discount, sales slice discount. It's for all customers. The item is there. As long as they buy, let's say, 10 items, we will give them a 15% discount. If we expand the window further, we could say that we wanted to give the discount beginning of next year, and let's say we give it to mid next year. As you can see, you can set up both prices. We can set up both prices and sales slice discount in one window, so we have an easy overview of the relevant discounts and prices for a given entity. If we look at actions, and if we look at the action called adjust inventory and select it, we can see that currently we have no inventory. And let's assume that we actually had inventory, we've been out, we've seen that there are still some items in stock, and we want to change that. We type in the new inventory that we have counted and hit OK. And now we see on the card itself that we have an inventory of 72, the number that we typed in. It's an easy way for a smaller business just to update the stock at hand instead of going through the inventory journals. The last thing we will look at is the type. In this case, we have a bicycle. It's probably something we want to keep track of in the inventory, so we marked it with type inventory. The other option is a service. Inventory will obviously create item ledger entries. Service type items will not. So you can use that for hours, resources, or anything that you don't want to have item ledger entries for. The third scenario is creating a sales invoice for a new customer. In this scenario, we want to create a sales invoice for a new customer. We first go to ongoing sales invoices. We choose new. And as you can see, the customer name and some of the fields on the lines are marked with a red asterisk, which is an indication that you must fill in those fields. We start by typing in new customer company, or whatever the name of the new customer is. The system will recognize once you leave the field that this customer is not registered, and it asks if you want to create a new customer card. We say yes. The system will then ask what template to use, because you have more options and there's a lot of different fields that you need to fill in differently depending on whether they are one or the other kind of customer. In this case, it's a domestic customer, so we pick the domestic template. It opens a card, and if we look at the invoicing tab, it has already filled in the posting groups that you would normally have to choose one by one. And that is the template that does this for us. And as you can see, there are no red asterisks because we use the template to fill in the required information. We leave that. And now we have a new customer. We could type in the address and so forth. We want to sell some bicycles. And that's all. We post it. We can now go and check the posted invoice, but in this case we don't need to, so we'll just say no. We can go back to the customer list. We can see if we can find a new customer, and we can say edit or view. And if we then go to the statistics fast tab and expand it, not only do we have a few data points, but we also have a visualization of accounts receivables for this customer. So it's an easy way of getting most of the information that you need about a customer in one go. You don't need to look up the statistics page or get the information from anywhere else. The fourth scenario is correcting a posted sales invoice. In this last scenario, we will correct the posted sales invoice. We've discovered that we made an error. So first we'll go to the posted sales invoices list. Here we have all the posted sales invoices. And if we look at the bottom, we have the posted sales invoice from before. We can click on it and we can see the information here. We sold 10 bicycles. We can choose the action correct. We could also choose cancel if we completely wanted to cancel the posted invoice, but in this case we just want to correct it. So we hit correct. It will then cancel the first posted sales invoice. It will create a credit memo, and then it will create a new sales invoice for us that we can then edit. It all happens in the background. Now we have the same customer, same dates and all, and we can now, for example, go in and say quantity is 9 instead of the original 10, and we can post. We could then go in and check, but we don't need to this time. So that's an easy way to make corrections or even cancellations of posted invoices. In this video, we have been through 4 scenarios that showcase most of the simplification elements that have been added to the simplified UX package. We've seen the small business role center. We've set sales prices and discounts for an item. We've created a new sales invoice for a new customer. And we've corrected a posted sales invoice.